but I do want to talk about New York too,
Yeah,
um, where this stunning victory from Zohran Mamdani in the New York City primary. I think it's major. I think it's big. Um, I though and you're the political scientist here, not me. I am always loath to make pronouncements about big trends based on a single election.
sure. Yeah,
Right? Now, listen, if Andrew Cuomo was not scandalized by his sexual harassment scandal, um, I could easily see him winning this race. It was 10 points that could
sure.
have flipped what if he was not discredited in that way. Eric Adams, if he hadn't, taken free trips from Turkey and other things, I'm not sure Mamdani would have been able to oust him. Now, this is not to take anything away from his campaign. I loved his campaign. His videos, his sense, his joie de vivre, having clear, articulative programs that address the core issue for most people, the affordability of life, was all smart, well done, with a lot of panache and sass, and you wanted to root for the guy. I mean, it was really one of the best campaigns I've seen in my years of covering decades, I hate to say, of covering politics. And he beat the big money. That's the other great thing here that this pack came in with Michael Bloomberg and Bill Ackman and all these other billionaires who think New York is their city. And they outspent him by millions of dollars, and they're going to try to do it again. And it didn't work. It might have worked if they had a candidate who wasn't burdened by the scandal that Cuomo had. So I think it's all really uplifting for and he had a progressive message. But I tend to think that these days, I'm a progressive. I like progressive politicians, but to me, I don't think that necessarily is the automatic key to victory. Being left of center, being progressive. I think showing people that you're real, that you care, that you're going to fight for them. Um, and if you're going to do it for progressive policies, all the better. Um, that they want to feel that you are real. And, sometimes politicians are able to fake that and it works. But he was authentic. There's nothing phony about him. He made politics look like fun. And so I think, I always think it's more the player than the message in politics. Message helps, and message can help create your image. Um, and so I think it's great what he did. I don't think it means Democrats are veering to the left. We saw Democratic voters, some of them vote, or New York City vote for Trump during the last election. So I don't think they went to Trump because of his, because Kamala Harris was too left, and now they're going to Madami because he's too left. I think there are other things at play there, but I do think it shows that, at least in a Democratic primary, a progressive, or someone who even calls themselves a socialist can, can get through without even in the face of red baiting, anti-Muslim bigotry, and be solid on these on these issues that he wants rent freeze, free buses, and all that sort of stuff, and excite people. That to me is inspiring, but I also wonder what's going to happen now, Norm. With the big money attacking him in the general. Adams is in it. Cuomo might run as an independent. The billionaire Bill Ackman, who's a Trump supporter, has already said that he can raise basically unlimited amount of money for a candidate in the general who's not Mamdani. That might be Cuomo again, although he's talking about trying to bring somebody else into the race. He won't give us names. So it's going to be just a heavyweight fight with immense amounts of money in here, and be really interesting to see.
Let me give a little bit of a take of my own, and then we'll wrap it up. First, I think Mamdani won for a couple of reasons. Outside of the fact that he is a generational talent, he's an amazing campaigner and great communicator. He won in part because, as you said, New York has become very difficult for working people to live in. any part of New York, where they used to be able to go to different parts of Brooklyn. They're completely out of reach in terms of rents. The costs of everything in New York are high. When I go to New York and I see these people working in grocery stores or just doing, the sorts of things, or working in department stores, um, how can you afford to live? So the appeal to the cost of living and to the difficulties of getting by, something that helped Trump enormously in 2024, helped Mamdani this time around. The second thing that worked for him was Brad Lander. Um, this is
Yeah.
a guy in a city with large numbers of Jews, um, where you have somebody who is pro-Palestinian. When you have a Jew doing commercials with him, saying, each of them saying, "This guy's great. The last thing we want is Cuomo. It's ranked choice voting. If you're a supporter of Lander, make your second choice Mamdani." And Mamdani saying, if you are a supporter of, or the other side saying, if you're a supporter of Lander, make it Mamdani. That helped. It took some of the sting away. The challenge for him now, and we've already seen, he said that of the congressional leaders who either didn't speak out or who opposed him, yeah, I want to talk with them. I want a broader coalition, is whether he's pragmatic enough to try and work within some elements of a system where there's going to be substantial resistance to keep this from collapsing with policies that are not going to be able to work or that won't be able to be achieved. And that's a challenge for him. Having said that, what we also know is that Democrats have nominated Mikey Sherrill to be governor, their candidate for governor of New Jersey, and Abigail Spanberger to be their candidate for governor in Virginia. Neither is a socialist, neither is a radical. These are
Right.
people, these are incredibly impressive women with military experience who, by any standard within the Democratic Party, are centrists. If I'm looking at what the Democratic Party is saying right now, contrary to what a lot of people, including Larry Summers, for example, are saying,
Yeah.
contrary to what know nothings in this process like John Kasich are saying, this is not about the Democratic Party saying we're a socialist party. This is about a party where the mainstream is far more pragmatic about what it takes to win elections. And while it's true that in New York, you had ranked choice voting in the primary, bizarrely, they don't have it in the general election. So it's going to be who gets a plurality of support.
Yeah.
And you've got Eric Adams running, and you've got Cuomo toying with running as an independent, and you have Bill Ackman saying he might bring somebody else in. Frankly, the more candidates there are, the better it is for Mamdani, because
Yeah.
he's now a core of support, and I bet that support increases as he begins to talk about how he
Mhm.
wants to build a broader coalition. And he'll reach out, I think, to other Jewish leaders, and he will reach out to politicians who opposed him. That's not likely to work. Let him
Yeah.
pour lots of money into it.
Yeah. And I've, the thing is here, um, ranked choice voting is still something that a lot of voters are coming to terms with, but it worked out tremendously well with Lander and Mamdani figuring out
Yeah,
how to exploit it. I mean that in the good sense of the word, and how to figure out. So, often it would be, if you're Lander and if it was just a straight election without ranked choice voting, if you you could argue a vote for him is a vote for Cuomo, right? Because
yeah,
rather than
yeah,
hoping Mamdani. But so by combining that way, he really created a lot of. Now it turns out he doesn't need that. I mean,
yeah,
because he had a big enough advantage. But it was great to see a socialist and a liberal Democrat coming together to say, we agree on more than we disagree on, right?
yeah,
And that's the way that how things should work. It's a good model, to the point you just raised, for the Democratic Party. It needs to be a bit of a tent. What works in Virginia is different than what works in New York City or even what works in Jersey. And the Democrats, in the face of rising authoritarianism, um, from Trump, the police state that he's establishing with mass deportations, the trying to rip apart Medicaid with the ugly, terrible big bill and everything else that does, trampling the rule of law by not abiding by what court says. In the face of all that, the Democrats have to stop arguing amongst themselves.
Yeah,
The
this is
differences, whether it's Bill Hard, Ken Martin, this and all that, those differences amount to a hill of beans compared to what this country
yeah,
faces. And
and
so any Democrat who gets out there and starts dumping on Mamdani is only helping Donald Trump.
and the media love the Democrats in disarray story as well, so it makes it that much worse.